Hey everyone and welcome back to my channel. This video is my review for the 10th episode of the final season of The 100, otherwise titled A Little Sacrifice. It looks like The 100 is finally back and right on time as we head into the final half of the season and the series as a whole. This was such a good episode after last week's disappointment. It felt like the earlier seasons and most of this season has felt like a different show, although I still enjoyed most of it. The plot of this episode was that Echo planned on putting the Gen 9 into the humidification system and the rest of the group had to stop her. The B team was left behind to watch over Cadigan and they learned a bit more about the last war. On Sanctum, Sheidheda took back his rightful place as the leader of one crew, but was challenged by Indra. Usually I go over the different stories, starting with the one I liked least, but this week I enjoyed both stories, so let's start off with Sanctum because Bardo had the bigger ending. We left off last episode with a great ending, the massacre where it seemed like Sheidheda killed all of the Sanctumites, but now it turned out that he ran off with Sangeta crew immediately after saying his battle had just begun. That made Murphy and the others seem pretty stupid if they didn't go after them, but it turned out that Sheidheda didn't actually kill all of the Sanctumites, unfortunately. Honestly, that ruins the last episode even more. Murphy was caring for the father of the kid he saved, and then Indra came in and they realized that Sheidheda would go after Maddie. Maddie was in the bar with Picasso, and when Sheidheda arrived, everyone ran off, leaving him with Maddie. So it turns out Maddie is not as smart as I thought, and she hadn't realized that Russell is now Sheidheda last episode. He revealed who he was and said that he wanted to kill her, but he knew that would cause more tension with Indra and her supporters, so instead he wanted her to kneel, otherwise he would kill everyone she cares for and feed them to Picasso. So she did kneel out of fear. Also, was I the only one who felt a bit of sexual or pedophilic tensions between them? Especially when Maddie did kneel and Sheidheda kind of moaned. I was expecting him to kill Picasso or eat him, but he just fed him something. By the time Indra and Memori got there, Sheidheda was gone and Murphy found Maddie having another panic attack. I like that they're dealing with mental illness, but I still feel like Maddie's anxiety came out of nowhere. This feels like a retcon, but I like how Murphy is the one that helps her, and once again I feel like it's setting up for him to be a dad. Then Sheidheda started talking over the speakers. They really should have destroyed that thing. He was calling out to the rest of one crew, which angered Indra, and she went over to stop him and tried to get some of her people to go with her, but not all of them were loyal to her anymore. She left Memori to take care of the Sanctumites, and they worried that Sheidheda would return to kill them. In the palace, we had a big reveal of Sheidheda's makeover, and what the hell did they do to my boy? He looks like a bird now. And where did he get those hair extensions? He also should have kept the beard. It made him look more threatening. Now he looks like Russell. He was naming off all of the commanders like his superior version, Lexa, and then we finally had a name reveal for him, and it was a bit disappointing. It doesn't really reveal anything. It's just Malachai cum Sangeta crew. It sounds cool at least. Indra came in and told everyone to stop kneeling and challenged him for the role of commander, so we have another conclave. This was just what Malachai wanted. Of course, before fighting, they both had to get makeovers. Indra shaved while Malachai got a new outfit and looked way better. I love that he had Lexa's war paint, and I love how he even pointed out they got makeovers. I really loved this fight scene. It reminded me of when Lexa fought Rowan. Malachai also beat Indra and was about to kill her when someone came running behind him. I was low-key hoping it was Lexa, but no, I was wrong. Actually, it was Maddie who finally got the courage to go back to being the Season 5 Maddie and attacked Malachai, cutting out his eye. So he only got to enjoy having two eyes for a few days, and while struggling to see, he was about to kill Maddie. However, Indra followed in her mother's footsteps and said she would kneel to save Maddie. This was a big moment for her because before she said she thought her mom was weak when she knelt before Sheidheda. Everyone else was also kneeling and Indra passed out. I was honestly expecting Indra to die here and that she would be the little sacrifice, but I'm glad she survived. But at least she would have died a warrior's death, which is what she deserves. And so did Lexa, not being shot by Titus. CW always does this with characters I like. I didn't want them to, but if they had to die, Dinah Laura Lance from Arrow and Lexa Comtrico deserved a warrior's death. Malachai noticed Maddie had escaped and he ordered one crew to go after her and kill her while he was going to kill off the remaining Sanctumites. Unfortunately, they had already escaped with Memori. Why can't we get rid of them already? They were down in the reactor with Memori and it looks like the dad's all better now. Although can't they die down there? I don't think all of them are Nightbloods. Malachai ordered Knight to go and kill all of their families so that they wouldn't have anyone wanting revenge. Knight finally started doubting Malachai as a good leader because he doesn't want to kill innocent kids. I'm so glad because up until now he was basically the early seasons version of Echo with how loyal he was. I hadn't thought about this, but he seems kinda young, so he might not have been alive during Sheidheda's reign, so he was raised to worship his version of Malachai, but now he's seen who he really is, and that makes me a bit more interested in this character. Finally, Malachai took off his eye patch and hopefully regretted his horrible new look. Now back to Bardo, where we once again went back to the room that Clark has been in for ages. We went back to Echo and Diyosa's taking off their helmets, and Clark asked Cadigan to let them go back to Sanctum, but all three of them refused and seemed to be loyal to the disciples. Cadigan said that he didn't brainwash them and that they simply learned the truth about the last war, which would begin now that Clark was here. Clark ordered Anders to leave the room with the other disciples, but they kept Cadigan so that they could watch over him. Then she asked Gabriel what was going on and why they thought she was still Heda. Gabriel explained that Levitt had seen Octavia's memories in MCAP, which Raven thought was cool, and he hadn't seen that the flame was taken out of Clark's head at the end of Season 3. But Jordan realized that this meant that the other ones weren't loyal to the disciples since they hadn't told them. Clark, Raven, and Miller went to get them, and the B-team was left behind with Cadigan. Cadigan asked about Callie, and it turns out Nyla did know who she was, and she confirmed that she was the first Flamekeeper, but Cadigan didn't know what that meant. He was about to ask, but then he stopped, so maybe he realized that she's not in the flame. Then Gabriel said he remembered him differently, and Cadigan said that there wasn't much difference between them as the Shepherd and the Primes, but Gabriel said that unlike him, he never thought he was a god. Then Cadigan showed them what he had learned and why he knew the last war was coming. They translated some Bordeauxan documents that sounded like they were talking about the white light that came out of the stone when Becca put in that code, which is why Cadigan needs the flame, so that he can get the code. Nyla also pointed out that every war seems like it's going to be the last war, so how does he know this is the last one? But Cadigan got hungry, so he went off to get lunch, with Gabriel following him with a gun, and he looked so awkward with that. During their lunch, they had some good old-fashioned food from the 21st century, which Gabriel said was from his mother's time, because Cadigan is an old millennial, and Gabriel is Gen Z. They had kombucha, which reminded Gabriel of his grandma in Colombia, who had her water taken away so that other people could use it to water their lawns. So they finally acknowledged that Gabriel is Latino, but why does he keep letting people butcher his name like Gabriel Santiago? It's Gabriel Santiago. Cadigan thought that they could bond over starting out as lower class and talked about how he used to be a McDonald's worker but he wanted to be something more and he was so tired of the memes and politics. He also denied Second Dawn was a cult and that he's not a god. He doesn't even believe in God, but he does think he's the chosen one, so he's still egotistical. He offered Gabriel the chance to join him, but Gabriel didn't want to have to give up his humanity by letting go of love and emotions. Then we learned why Cadigan wants them to be this way. Everyone fights for their people, but he's still hurt by Callie and Grace betraying him, so he doesn't want to have to deal with that again or have anyone go for that. Now he's just preparing for the afterlife. It is interesting how both Cadigan and Sheidheda think love is a weakness, because Sheidheda thought that Alexa was weak for falling in love with Clark, which led to her death, and so does Cadigan because of how his family betrayed him. Honestly, this was a pretty weird scene. At least we did get to learn a bit more about both of them, but Bill was so weird. He was eating it with his mouth full and sounded like a child. He doesn't even seem threatening anymore. Then Anders came in and took Gabriel's gun to tell them that they had a problem. Echo had released Hope, revealing that, as I had guessed, she was being a spy last episode and she had a plan. She claimed she was working with Levitt and they were going to release Gen 9, so Hope had to get everyone else out of there. Octavia and Diyosa were discussing how Echo ruined their chance to escape. Then Clark and her group came in to get them. Clark and Octavia hugged and talked about Bellamy, then Octavia went to hug Miller. This was such a nice moment because Miller finally hugged her back, meaning he was no longer mad at her over Blood Reina, which always made me mad at him. Then Hope arrived and they thought she was a disciple, but Diyosa said it was her daughter. I love how Hope went over all of their names, then she told them that they had to go, but when she told them about Echo, they realized she was getting revenge for Bellamy. While everyone else ran off, Diyosa stayed behind with her and asked why she would let Echo kill everyone, but Hope also wants revenge for what they took from her. Octavia and the others found Levitt tied up and beat up by Echo, who had killed 2 other disciples and tortured him to get the Gen 9 vial. Once again, this makes me doubt he's at level 11 because he's really dumb and weak. He told them that Echo planned to place the Gen 9 in the humidification system and run for her life. This seems like the end of Octavia, as Octavia stuffed his mouth and left him behind to go stop Echo. Echo was about to go through with her plan when the others arrived and yelled at her. They were being hypocrites again and saying killing is wrong, this isn't who Echo is, which is completely wrong, and Echo pointed out that Bellamy would do the same thing if any of them died, although she's wrong about that because last season he stopped himself from curing the Primes when they killed Clark. Raven also told her this, and now it's time for my weekly segment of defending Echo. People were complaining about Raven saying that Echo was her sister. Well, Clark is right there, but she is her sister. Raven has known Echo way longer than she's known Clark, and Clark hasn't even been on good terms with her for a while. They did a bad job at showing it, but Raven and Echo spent 6 years together on the Ark. There weren't that many people there, so they probably grew close. She was able to get to Echo, who started crying and hugged her. Also, since I'm talking about her, I've gotta say that the disciple suit looks great on Tassia. It looks horrible on everyone except for Tassia and Lindsay. But also, Echo said that they didn't know Bellamy like her, and once again, she spent 6 years with him. Clark hasn't known him for that long. Just look at Maddie and Clark's relationship and how close they grew. It was the same for the others on the ring. Anders came in and stopped them from leaving. Miller was going to shoot him, but then he revealed his invisible disciples. Clark told him they had a deal, but Anders said the deal was off because Echo tried to commit genocide and killed the 2 disciples. Diyosa gave him back the Gen 9, but he was disgusted at them and said how feelings made them weak. Then he sentenced Echo to 15 years on Skyrim. At this moment, we saw how angry Hope got at the thought that Echo, who is also her sister after being together on Skyrim for 5 years, would be punished there. So just like Echo saved her before, Hope slashed Anders' throat. So goodbye, Damien Dark. But it seemed like Hope must be stupid because she didn't listen to what everyone had just said to Echo and how killing is wrong because she took the vial and ran off to put it in the humidifier. Then we had one of the most emotional moments the show has had as Diyosa ran after her and put her hand in the way so the drop of Gen 9 fell on her. Diyosa yelled at them to get out and Octavia pulled Hope out as Diyosa suffered the same fate as the original Bardoans and turned into crystal along with Anders. Her last words were, "Don't waste it, little one. Be better than me." This was such an emotional moment when I watched it again. The first time I thought it would happen too quickly, and I didn't believe that Diyosa died. I was thinking there's gotta be a way to save her. But then Jason tweeted "RIP Diyosa," so I guess I was a clown. I didn't want her to die, but this was also a good ending for Diyosa, who wasn't even supposed to go past season 5. She was seen as a terrorist on Earth, but now she died a hero as she stopped her daughter from committing genocide and saved the whole civilization, while also saving Hope's soul because she didn't want her to become like her. All she wanted was for Hope to be the end of the cycle of violence Clark was talking about. She gave Hope the opportunity to do that, and like Diyosa said, she can be better than her. But the most emotional part was seeing Hope banging on the walls, although we had seen that in the trailer, so I was kinda expecting Diyosa to die at some point. The other big moment I skipped was the reveal that the last war is not actually a war. The translation the disciples had was wrong. It's actually a test, which Jordan and Nyla learned and told Gabriel, and I'm guessing it's gonna either be Clark or Bellamy who goes through that test. Overall, this was actually a really good episode, much better than the last one, although it ruined the best part of last episode since Sheidheda didn't actually kill all of the Sanctimites. I really enjoyed both storylines, and I thought Tasia, Adina, and Shelby were great, and I enjoyed Sheidheda a lot again, although they ruined his look. It felt more like the earlier seasons on Earth, especially since we finally got more of Clark and got her out of that room, although we still didn't have much screen time for her, but hopefully now that Bellamy's coming back, that means Bob and Eliza are back for good. I think I will give this episode a 9 out of 10. Well, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe for similar content. I do videos on the show along with Stargirl. Leave your thoughts on the video in the comments. Thanks for watching and have a good day. Goodbye.